Welcome to the InsaneFoamies build CD for the Flying Giants Foamie. Let me start by saying thank you for your purchase. This CD will cover all the topics on how to build your Flying Giants Foamie. Let's start by taking a look at the contents of the kit. Here are some of the contents you will need to complete this kit: Foam Safe CA and Foam Safe Accelerator, Blenderm hinge tape, and Uhu Creative contact cement. Let's start by locating the wing and the ailerons. First, you will glue the two wing halves together. Next, locate the 36-inch flat bar carbon. Now, using the Uhu Creative contact cement, we will apply the carbon to the trailing and leading edge of the wing. Make sure to lay the carbon across and find out even distances to overlay on each side, as the carbon is not as long as the wing. Once you put a bead down on the carbon, lay across the top of the wing to apply glue to the front of the wing, then pull apart and allow to dry for the recommended time on the glue container. After it's dried, apply the carbon to the wing as shown. Now we'll use the Blenderm hinge tape to tape the carbon to the leading edge of the wing as shown. We start by taping one side of the carbon. After that's taped, we roll the carbon down the opposite side of the wing and tape the following edge of the wing. We will repeat the exact same process for the trailing edge of the wing. Using a sharp hobby knife and a straight edge, we will now bevel all the control surfaces. We'll start with the ailerons. Put the straight edge flush to the front edge of the aileron. Then lay the hobby knife at a 55-degree angle, front to back and side to side, and cut as shown in the video. We will do this to all the surfaces, including the tail, as shown. Now, using the Blenderm hinge tape the aileron as shown. We'll start by laying a lengthwise strip down the aileron. Make sure when sticking it down you leave a very slight gap in between the carbon and the control surface to make for free movement of the control surface to get maximum deflection. Once you've done one lengthwise strip on the top, we're going to do 3 small pieces on the bottom, 2 on the outside edges and 1 in the middle of each control surface. Make sure to hinge just one side of the wing now, as we have to slide the wing through the fuselage after the fuselage has been built. After it's been slid through the fuselage, then you can hinge the other side. Here we're doing the same process on the elevator. Three more small pieces of tape on the bottom side of the elevator, pushed into the bevel as shown. Now locate the fuselage sides and doublers. We will now start the construction of. We will now glue the sides to the doublers, making sure to line up all the notches and grooves to the side as shown. Now that that's done, we'll locate the centerpiece and glue in as shown. Now locate the firewall and the 3 fuselage interformers, and we'll install the firewall as shown. You may want to use a small piece of sandpaper and back bevel the front edges of the firewall a little bit to match up with the curvature of the fuselage. Now glue the inner formers in. Now locate the opposite side of the fuse and glue together with the first half. Make sure to glue the firewall and all the tabs to the opposite side just as you did the first side. Now locate and glue on the fuselage canopy former. Now locate the turtle deck small triangular piece and glue to one half of the fuselage held in a slight upward angle. Then glue the opposite side to the opposite side of the fuse. Now, if you're not very skilled at building foamies, you may want to take some blue light stick tape and tape these parts together first, and then wick the CA in between the tape, making sure to align the fuselage straight before you glue it. If you just start gluing and don't pay attention to the build, you can build a twist into the tails and you will have a very bad flying airplane. Also, go easy on the CA, because if you wick the CA in between the tape and the side of the fuselage, when you peel the tape back, you'll peel the color off the fuselage also. Now we'll do the same process on the bottom. Make sure to line this piece up flush with the front of the second former. That way you leave the little slot to accept the gear plate later in the build. Once again, you can use the blue low tack tape and tape the fuselage together first to assure proper alignment and squareness before CAing. Then wick in between the blue tape. Otherwise, you can tape and CA as shown. Now, using something like a small handled screwdriver, roll the front end of the bottom plate to conform to the shape of the fuselage. Do this gently and slowly to make sure not to crack the bottom plate. Then glue into place flush to the back side of the first former to leave that 1/8 inch slot for the landing gear plate in between the two. Now glue in the first top plate just like you did the bottom one. We will wait on the second colored top plate until the installation of the canopy is done. Now we'll do the canopy. Locate the canopy and cut off flush to the front line of the nose of the canopy, as shown. We'll do the same thing for the back part of the canopy so we're able to lay it over the fuselage and mark reference lines of where we need to cut. Mark reference lines approximately 1/4 inch over the actual opening of the canopy. Then cut off lines as shown. Lay back in place to make sure a proper fit until desired fit is achieved. Now we'll put in the back canopy plate. We start by marking lines exactly where the turtle deck stops under the canopy. This is a reference so we know exactly where to glue into place. Now sand a slight bevel on the canopy former to match up with the angle of the canopy itself. Using denatured alcohol, be sure to clean the canopy in gluing areas to ensure proper adhesion of the foam to the canopy. Now glue the foam canopy former to the front side of the reference lines drawn on the canopy. When you're finished, you can use the denatured alcohol to remove the reference lines from the canopy. Now locate the two 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch by 1 millimeter rare earth magnets. Now mark a square the size of the magnet, just over the top of the hole in the turtle deck former. Then do the same on the back side of the canopy form. Using a sharp hobby knife, cut out that square halfway through the thickness of the foam. Then cut small lines vertical and horizontal in that square and scrape out the foam as shown to accept the magnet. Then glue the magnet into place. We will do the same thing on the canopy former also. But make sure before you glue in the magnet on the canopy, you stick the magnet to the back side of the magnet that's in the turtle deck former so you have the proper polarity of the magnet. We will mark a dot on the back side of that magnet so we know to glue the dot into the former of the canopy former. Now we're going to hinge the nose of the canopy. Using the Blenderm hinge tape again, lay a lengthwise strip across the nose of the canopy, cutting off flush with the front. Then we will lay the canopy over in its proper location and stick the hinge tape down to the front nose plate. Once you have the top piece done, fold the canopy and put a lengthwise strip on the bottom of the canopy, folding it under the front plate. Now you can fold the canopy back in place, making sure to spread the canopy on the sides so it doesn't hook up on the sides of the fuselage when closing. Now we will glue the second front plate on the nose of the airplane, covering the hinged canopy. Roll the nose and glue as shown. That should be a completed fuselage. Now we'll locate the wing and slide it through the holes in the side of the fuselage. Slid it through, open the canopy, and locate the centering holes in the middle of the fuselage and line them up with the same holes that are in the wing to ensure proper alignment of the wing. Then glue the wing into place. Once the wing is glued into place, hinge tape the opposite aileron just like we did the first aileron in the beginning of the build CD. Don't forget the 3 small strips that go on the bottom. Now, slide the tail into place. Make sure that the horizontal stab is square and straight with the fuselage and the wing before gluing into place. Once it is, glue into place as shown. Now we'll hinge the rudder. We do this in the same manner of which we did the ailerons and the elevator. Make sure to leave a 1/32 inch gap between the top of the rudder and top of the vertical stab for proper clearance and movement. We'll also put the 3 pieces of tape on the back side of the rudder just like the rest of the surfaces. Now locate the 2 carbon rods and slide them through the tail of the fuselage into the horizontal stab. Once you've made sure that the horizontal stab is square and straight to the fuselage, glue into place. Now we'll install the landing gear. Start by putting a bead of glue in the groove of the landing gear plate and then glue the wire in as shown. Now slide the plate into the fuse, flush up with the bottom, make sure it's straight, and glue into place. Now locate the wheels and the tail skid. We'll start by drilling out the hubs of the wheels to accept the size of the axles. Now locate the wheel collets. Cut them into 4 pieces. Slide one over the axle, then slide the wheel on, and then slide the remaining one over the axle to capture the wheel, using CA to hold in place. Now locate the tail skid, push into the tail of the airplane as shown, and hold into place with a strip of Blenderm hinge tape. Now locate the control horns. Cut the horn as shown for a push-pull setup. Locate the short flat bar carbon and glue to the top of the horizontal stab as shown. Using a sharp hobby knife, we will cut slits in the control surface to accept the control horn, and using foam safe CA and accelerator, we'll glue. Make sure when gluing these into place that the hinge line lines up with the control horn hole. We will do this on all 4 control surfaces. The 2 bottoms of the ailerons, the bottom of the elevator, and the side of the rudder. Make sure to put the horn on the bevel side of the rudder, and the horn on the elevator is on the bevel side also, opposite side of where the rudder horn is. Now we'll install the motor and the speed controller. Attach the motor and speed controller to manufacturer's specifications. Slide the speed controller through the firewall hole and screw the motor into place on the front of the firewall. Now let's install some servos. Most any 9-gram servo will work as long as it has 15 to 25 ounces of torque. Cut a small hole in the middle plate of the fuselage to pull the servo wires through for the wing. There are many ways to attach a servo. The way we're going to show you today is just by putting a few drops of glue on the servo, gluing it to the actual frame of the airplane itself. Make sure not to use too much glue here as it can wick into the case of the servo and screw up the servo. Install all 4 servos in the pre-cut servo holes as shown. Now hook up a receiver according to manufacturer's specs. Now we'll make the push rods. Using the supplied carbon rod cut to 2 inches shorter than the distance from the servo arm hole to the control horn hole. Then using shrink wrap and the 32nd inch music wire, add those to the end to complete a push rod. One side straight and one side bent to accept the easy link. Make sure to use a drop of CA in between the carbon rod and the wire before using the shrink wrap. You will do this for all 4 control surfaces. We're almost there. Last thing. We have to CG the airplane. Balance the airplane 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch in front of the trailing edge carbon at the tips of the out. Move your battery around until you find out where that balance point is. Once you've used sticky back Velcro on the back side of the battery and inside the fuselage to attach your battery. That's it. Now it's time to fly. Insane Foamies thanks you for your purchase, and if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to call us.